If you're into dressing up like I am, Berman's and Nathan's is definitely the place to go. I love dressing up. I'm a bit worried about why exactly, but the easy thing to say is that you know, it's the cliche that somebody always wants to be somebody other than themselves because they're so unhappy being themselves. It's not really like that with me, but I just really do enjoy dressing up. And I have a tendency to be incredibly sort of exhibitionist, actually, which has got me into a lot of trouble recently because people think that I'm being publicity-seeking because, of course, if I happen to be exhibitionist in a public place, then there's bound to be a photographer there, and the next thing I know, it'll be splashed over the Sunday Mirror. And I'm not quite sure how to handle it. It's incredible that this dress fits me because it belonged to Twiggy and the boyfriend. And I thought she was incredibly small. It's a little bit tight on the hips. But apart from that, it fits. Moi, the diet's working. Pink Pussycat territory, I think. Elkie Summer or something. Actually, this is a Dior original. It doesn't half hurt. It's one of those dresses of which Clive James would say it stands up all by itself. Apparently, this was actually worn by Lana Turner. Don't know what movie it was in. It's wonderful. It's been about the same size. She always had that wonderful vacant look in her. Her eyes sort of... I gather she was discovered in Schwab's pharmacy. She's probably sitting there behind the cash register, sort of going... Actually, I'm not as coy as that. I just wander up to my producers and say, fancy a quickie? Work's a treat.
Dear Fan, how dare you presume to write to me, you horrible, snivelling little worm? I'm going to come and trample all over you with my hedgehog-spiked stilettos. Then I shall lock you in the closet and feed you nothing but fresh, tweezed Ripon eyebrow parings and bitter leaming juice. Next, I shall fit you with a set of ransom teeth and force you to say the words, "That'll do nicely, sir," without spitting. If you fail, you shall be battered mercilessly about the ears with a soggy old Kate Bush leotard.
Well, sadomasochism sort of interests me because it covers such a wide spectrum. I mean, I think that is the major British fantasy, to be quite honest. It's, because there's the nurse, it's the traffic warden, it's the, you know, the school mom, it's Angela Ripon, it's the Queen, in a way. Well, it's, yes. Wonder if I should have said that. I just met Terry Donovan a little while ago at a charity thing, and he very kindly offered to photograph me, free. Which is wonderful. And since he's one of the best photographers around, I was delighted.
I don't believe anything he tells you.
I've actually got the most... I'm like one of those window shop dummies, you know. I mean, just the complete sort of bland face that you can do almost anything with. And, I mean, if I get a different makeup artist to make me up, for example, even just on an ordinary beauty thing, I mean, I walk out and the photographer says, "Where's Pamela?" A bit like that. I mean, very useful. Actually, I don't think I'm ever going to age. I mean, I've been looking for some lines to appear, but I doubt they're going to happen. So much for my Peter Pan quality.
Police hunting the individuals who've threatened to kill Mrs. Thatcher say that their investigations are making good progress and that 47 million people are helping them with their inquiries.
When I first did Not the 9 O'Clock News, like the first series, I was desperately careful that I didn't do any crumpet bits. And, you know, I used to sort of insist that they bring in other people to, you know, play the large-titted females. And because I thought, well, I'll become known for the sort of Barbara Windsor kind of, well, a tits and ass kind of comedian. There's so many of them, and that's sort of a British tradition, actually. You know, the two Ronnies is full of gold with wobbly bottoms walking around. So I was very frightened of that, and I used to try to convince producers that I was a very serious type of actress indeed, and shouldn't be seen doing anything like that, and they let me get away with it. And then after I felt that I'd established myself enough as somebody who could do other things, I thought, right, now I'll start doing the sexist bits.
After yoga, ginseng and caraway seeds and being a non-smoker. My cauliflower quiches were better than the bought ones, and they were thicker than two short ones. People bought my latest hits, cause they like my latex tits, and they were trying hard to get inside my leotard.
When I came to England, I found it very difficult to get work of any sort. And I was always sort of playing glamour roles, you know, being somebody's girlfriend or something, you know, the lip gloss and the hair, and which I think I'm wearing at the moment, but nothing's changed, really. I'm just not being taken seriously anymore. I don't think I was then. I think I did a lot of unintentional comedy throughout my entire sort of straight acting career. If only people had old tapes about this, I never would have survived. Straight acting so boring. I mean, I never want to do it ever again. Although probably sort of next year when I'm ditched by everybody, I'll be crawling to do something straight again. But I don't know. I just I think actually I'm just not very good at it. I think that's the answer. I'm not really very strongly motivated to doing it. I love doing comedy because I like it. I love having a good laugh, and I like the immediate feedback you get from an audience.
Good morning, and welcome to Breakfast Television.
I don't really see myself as an impersonator. In the first place, I can't see any point in just being an impersonator. I can't see any point in doing impersonations unless they're within the context of a sketch, for example, or unless there's a very solid topical reason or something for doing them. I mean, I find it boring and to watch myself with other people and myself too. I mean, so I think that within the context of a topical program like Not the 9 O'Clock News, when you had the obvious thing of it not being the news, I mean, it was the right thing to do for me to be a newscaster occasionally. And I mean, I never knew really that I could do them, and it was quite a surprise to me, and it was fun working through them.
Mr. Kurt Waldheim has decided to resign as head of the United Nations so that he can concentrate on running his brother-in-law's laundrette.
I've decided to sort of wind people up by actually collecting fantasy costumes. I went along to Harrods to try and purchase a schoolgirl's outfit, but they refused to sell me one in the end. I actually got into the cubicle and tried on everything, the short tunic, black stockings, I mean, the whole bit. And by the time I had sort of got changed and was about to pay for it, there was this frantic whispering in the next cubicle, and a buyer came and whipped everything away and said, "I'm sorry, we can't buy that." And they decided that I was going to use it for some kind of disgusting erotic purposes. Which I wasn't. Well, actually, if I was, I probably wouldn't tell you about it right at this moment. But I found it wonderfully useful. I mean, it's wonderful, people's reactions.
Just lick your... Let me see your tongue, that's right. That looks nice. Donovan! No, I don't want to use that. I just want to just get it moist, you know. Good, stay there.
You don't like smelling? every day I go into the dance centre about 3:30 and Bruno Tognoli tortures my body sadistically to, well, get me in shape and learn routines. I just want to extend what I do physically, really. That's the main reason. And I want to do more dancing in the future, in the proposed BBC series, and also Not the 9 O'Clock News.
Forward, side, lower, and push. Now elongate.
I had polio when I was a child, and I had to dance to strengthen my limbs. So my parents sent me along to dance, and I got very, very much into dancing, and in fact came to London when I was a child, when I was 12, with my parents who were on sabbatical leave from university, and they put me into a stage school. And I mean, I might have gone and tried to become a real ballet dancer, because I think that's what I thought I was going to do at that time.
And tell me when?
When? Does your mother know you do this?
Should we do some more? Or should we dance a bit?
It's always puzzled me that so much, particularly in this country, that so much humour has come out of the education system, the male educational system, and that we don't seem to know very much about what actually makes women laugh. It just happened that a girls' school invited me to go and talk to them. And I thought, well, the letter's been sitting on my desk for some time, and I thought it was an excellent opportunity to go and find out what made them laugh.
And we decided that our sense of humour was definitely orientated towards the 3-year-old sense of humour. Yes. And we come up with jokes like, what's blue and white and falls out of trees? A refrigerator and a denim jacket. And now that is not necessarily funny. Now at midnight it tends to be... It's not funny at all. But we found we don't actually sit down and tell jokes. We don't act like stand-up comics. We don't tell jokes. Our jokes tend to arise out of circumstance, or tend to be directed against people that we know, our friends, things that they've done, things that are silly.
We used to do jokes about contraception and things like that. You know, why did the woman ask for the pill and an ice cream so she could have a deep freeze? I mean, really dull stuff like that. Anyone else? Has anyone else got a joke? What about your families? Don't your brothers or sisters or people tell you jokes?
Little boys on our coaches will tell very in-topic sick jokes, sort of things like, what's orange and sits on the top of Big Ben and you're in Bevan's lunchbox? That is the sort of thing that they will tell.
I don't get that.
Oh. Well, that's the sort of joke they tell.
And then you get all the
variants on the baby jokes.
What's that?
What's pink and red and goes round and round, a baby in a liquidizer.
What's sort of blue and sits
yes.
in a corner, a baby in a polythene bag, and what's green and sits in the corner, a baby in a polythene bag 6 months later.
You've got a great selection. You're well into it.
Lots of situations make me laugh. I mean, real situations make me laugh. I have that sort of schoolgirl nervousness when I'm in a situation where I think everybody is expected to behave very properly. That always makes me feel very tense. And so I usually either start laughing or do something to make everybody else laugh and sort of destroy the situation.
It does seem, actually, that you do tell jokes, in other words, to each other. And yet you were saying earlier that you don't.
Women are much more spontaneous. They find humour in things that are going on now, the sort of quick comment that happens.
Yes.
But men can appreciate the sort of standard situation joke, the sort of stereotypes, the Irishman, the mother-in-law, that sort of thing.
I think women can appreciate that just
They
as
can
much.
as well, but they are more spontaneous, I think.
Sure. And of course, since women are the butt end of a lot of sexist jokes, it's time that we found counter jokes, counter things to laugh at. Not necessarily downing men, but at least jokes that showed that women are, you know, have got terrific senses of humour that I know they have. The funniest woman I've ever met was Germaine Greer. I mean, I lived in a house with her and she just used to make me crack up all the time. And she's supposed to be a sort of very solid, very straight, very serious person. What about sex? I mean, there must be an awful lot to laugh at in female sexuality. Has anybody got any jokes about something to do with female sexuality then?
Part of the trouble is you've got your male joke about sex in which you've got the traditional using their hands to indicate curves or whatever.
Yes,
they
but
talk
we
about
can do
women
that
in the
too.
pub.
What's wrong with that?
Yes, I know we can do that too. We don't seem to do that though.
They've got something to prove, haven't they?
Who have?
The men have. I mean, at the age of 16 or something, they have to prove about how many girls they've been out with and exactly what they've done with them. And that never, I don't think that crops up in a girls' school in the same way.
You see, it seems to me that what women have done in comedy in this country have just slotted into a male sense of humour, like being the butt end of the crumpet jokes or whatever. And I know, because I've talked to enough, and I know enough women to realise that there's a whole area of sort of female humour that hasn't actually become part of a British tradition. Which is why the field is sort of incredibly wide open for female comics, because, for example, sex has hardly been explored from a female point of view in this country.
Do you do reviews or anything? Do you do sort of...
The Boys' Success
Did a really good review last
So that was all men? None of you took part in?
One girl, she happened to be at the boys' school.
But that says success, you see.
And that's very good. This year especially, it was excellent.
Why don't you do your own reviews?
They are better at kind of making a fool of themselves.
Now, wait a minute. Is it that we don't like making a fool of ourselves because we want to appear to be pleasant and sweet?
Yes.
It's more of a female image. I don't think...
Is that what it is?
It's more, I don't know, but it's more the female image. They have to be the... It's different from the male image. Male image is this kind of stupid... It's really good to be stupid and witty and everything, which is different from the female image.
But look at someone like Bette Midler. I mean, she's a loony, but she doesn't lose her sexuality or her...
that would shudder at the thought of her. She's lost a lot of her sex appeal. Yeah. I mean, she's got a lot, obviously, but she's very brash, very brazen. And it's through that, it's through being like that.
One of the things that makes me a little bit different to other members of the Not 9 O'Clock News team is that I don't really have that background of Oxbridge humour. I suppose, having been brought up in Australia, that the humour is more American-oriented.
Ah, come in, boys. I want to bare my soul. Boys, I'm tired of this horrid, frivolous life. The endless satirical sneering, knocking the stuffing from the very roots of civilization as we know it. I want to do something meaningful.
Phew. Well, that's a relief. But where do I fit into all of this?
You're a record producer, and I want to be a rock star.
Go.
I know what you're thinking. Rock is a serious business, but I can do it. I'm ready, I promise. I bought a Beckstein this morning, and yes, I think there's just enough hype left in this jar.
What do you think?
Let's play along. I reckon she's loaded.
I'll do it.
Good. You do the work, and I'll sleep with the DJs. Well, toddle off and get busy. Oh, incidentally, my manager wants to see you in his office, sharpish.
I want my girl's record top 5 by Tuesday. If not...
At the moment, for example, I need quite a lot of material for all kinds of reasons. I'm building a stage show. I initially began to do some stand-up work at the Edinburgh Festival last year. And for that, I employed sort of 4 or 5 writers, plus myself, and a whole lot of material was written, and really too much, and it needed a lot of sorting out, and I didn't even get through it all during Edinburgh, even though I did a different show every night and tried new material a lot of the time. But it takes a long time to develop as a stand-up comic. You know, I mean, that's the term that they actually use about somebody who's in that field. It's developing, you know, that you not only have you got to sort of work through material, find material that's absolutely right for you, because it's not just a matter of taking some material that some writer's written and saying, oh, yeah, that's funny, I'll do that. It's got to be so right for you. Richard.
Oh, hi, Pam. Look, I've got some bad news for you today.
What?
I haven't been able to write any new material.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. I've just been too depressed. My life's sort of falling apart at the seams.
What happened?
My girlfriend ran off with my best friend.
Well, if I were you, I'd just go around and beat him up.
Oh, I can't do that.
Why not?
He's my best friend, Pam.
Well, beat her up, then.
No, I can't do that.
Why not?
I think it might ruin our relationship.
Richard, I can't help you. What about this funny song?
All right, look, I wrote a couple before all this started happening. I think this one might be quite good. It's about Michael Fish.
Who?
The weatherman. I think it's a
Richard,
love to...
I've never heard of him, so that's no good.
Fine, sorry, it only took me a couple of days to do that one. I've got one here about nuns, which I think might be quite funny.
No.
No, well, that's it, really. I mean, there's one here about lesbian tennis players, but
Jesus.
I think that might be a bit serious. And there's one about God.
About God?
Yeah, I thought I might follow in Dylan's footsteps, go through a religious phase.
Look, I'm sorry, Richard, but I'm going to have to find myself a writer. You're no good anymore. You're fired.
Well, thanks, Pam. It's come at a really good time.
I'll just take this God song in case, though.
Oh, thanks.
Relationships with writers are very important. They're sensitive beings, and you have to treat them with kid gloves. I thought it'd be nice to do a new song, so I called my resident manic-depressive genius, Richard Curtis, and asked him to write some lyrics. Oh, you
It's meant to be very melodramatic.
Yes, I know.
I mean, it's sort of would that's kind of one single piano.
And Howard Goodall, who's written a lot of the music for Not 9 O'Clock News, set it to music. It's called God.
Do you?
I just think it's too strong right there, right at the beginning.
Yes.
I don't know. It might be funny later. I don't know. I was thinking about it, but I think let's try it, Streisand's, because I could do something very American.
Okay.
Dancing and singing, you've just got to, it's like, you know, the whole instrument thing. I mean, you've just got to keep everything in shape and working. And with comedy or anything, I suppose it's not the instrument's your brain, you know, you've got to keep thinking of ideas and being stimulated and feeding yourself with stuff. I've never really been ambitious just to be like famous for the sake of it or something like that. The only thing that would really worry me would be if I felt I couldn't actually get material written and perform it somewhere, at least. I mean, if I wanted just to sort of be horribly famous and get to Hollywood, I would be accepting a role I've just been asked to do, to appear in the sort of Son of Dallas series in America, like the sort of Sue Ellen role. How does the quality sound? Can I listen, actually?
The matching is much better than it was the time before, but it still could be a bit better. Just try it again.
Do you think it's going to work?
Kids are kind of funny, aren't they? They tend to say the darndest things. Like, give me more pocket money, or who's that in your bed? Or tell me, Mom, do angels have wings? Well, my son, he's a kind of funny fellow. Kind of good looking for the son of a kike. The other day, when we were having a bath together, he said, Ma, tell me, what does God look like? And I told him, he looks like a lion, so strong and so wise. He looks like a chairman now, except for the eyes. His voice is like Streisand's, incredibly loud. He's just like King Kong, he stands out in a crowd. His eyes are Paul Newman's, unbelievably blue. His torso's real cute, but what's that to you? His chest is like Victor Matura's chest, though in comparison slightly less large. His fist is enormous, to prove he's in charge. His muscles like mountains, all craggy and glistening. His ears just enormous, he does so much listening. His nostrils are mighty, of a size that appalls. And when he blows his nose, it's Niagara Falls. He's the biggest and best in every which way. And if he's a woman, then he's Doris Day. And maybe we'll see him when to heaven we go. But just what he looks like. Christ, how should I know? Get out of here.
I hate the word actress, so I'd rather be known as a comedian. In fact, I would consider it an honor if somebody called me a comedian.